Hey everyone, this is Bill. Uh, as some of you know, we buried my mom yesterday. 83-year-old little Greek woman, super strong. Was born in the mountains of Greece. No running water, no electricity. The Nazis burned down her village. Went to work when she was a toddler and worked all her life. Uh, Her firstborn died shortly after birth, and then when I was born, she I was sick, and she took me to. She walked 3 hours barefoot, carrying me to the church in a neighboring town, and she put me in the altar and said, "God, if you're gonna take them. Otherwise, give them to me back alive." And who needs health care, right? Or CAT scans when you have power like that? Um, Raised a family with no running water, no electricity. One little room, dirt floor, 7 people. You get the idea. Uh, Came to the United States in 1969 at the age of 40, no money, not a word of English. Worked at Brock's Candy for 25 years. Possibly the best employee ever at Brock's. Uh, Loved everyone. Gave us everything we have, my brother and my sister, the grandkids, 7 grandkids, 8 with Chrissy, her grandkid-in-law. How do you say that? And then uh, in 1992, my father had a heart attack. So I figured, she's still in 60. She needs to get around, independent. She's smart. I'm going to teach her how to drive. And she's doing amazing. But then she tells me the thing that would uh, dictate what our family will go through the rest of for the next 20 years. And that is, I can't remember, I forget. I'll never be able to get my license. But the next day, my dad got better, and he kept getting better. Instead of a year or whatever they told us he was going to live, he lived another 18 years. And the driver's license went by the wayside. I put that aside. I just remember recently what she said. And they would go back and forth to Greece for 4 or 5 months in the summer. We wouldn't see them all summer. They came back. We noticed changes. Women, my aunts would say something, that they would blame me because I wouldn't get married. And her hope was for me always to get married. Uh, I did get married, but she still had Alzheimer's. In 1999, my sister went to Greece and with her husband and family, and she noticed that there's really something wrong, because when you spend enough time with people, they can fool you because they build in a system. They'll change the subject. They're pretty sneaky. At least my mom was, and some of the systems that we noticed, they were she drank. My mom never got drunk. She got drunk several times until we realized what was happening, and then we took out all the booze out of the house, which is maybe some beer when someone came over, or some metaxa, or they didn't drink, but there was always something around. And another thing, she would repeat herself. She wanted her money. She worked. She would tell my dad, I worked. I have my pension. I want my money. You don't give me any money." She drove him crazy with that. She didn't spend money anywhere. She just, we're thinking, where is she doing it? I was doing some work on our house at the time. I'm pretty sure there's money in walls. uh, the next guy that rehabs that place will find some. Uh, Next year, we take her to Rush Medical Memory Clinic here in Chicago. My sister found this beautiful place. And I'll never forget that day either when the doctor says, Dimitra, I'm going to give you 3 words, and they are apple, penny, and table, and I'm going to ask you to repeat them in a few minutes. He proceeded to tell her, ask her about what year it was and the season. She didn't know. She couldn't remember the words. So he told us that it'll be a few years before Alzheimer's takes her. That was 12 years ago. Uh, Things came progressively worse, but my dad took great care of her. One thing that was causing a lot of problems was he could drive at night, and they would go out to friends and relatives, and once it became after dark, she wanted to go home. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. And it became quite annoying. But then he said he had to stop because he couldn't drive at night, and things calmed down a little bit. And until 2009, when he passed away, and we got the full frontal assault of Alzheimer's. Because up to that point, like I said, they were pretty independent. She would forget how much salt she put in the food, and you know it was inedible or some cool things like that. She washed the same clothes over and over again. She leave the oven on. My dad was always on top of that. But then we were running back and forth in the hospitals. 2 weeks prior, he passed away, so we were taking her to the hospital. My nieces and nephews, we drive her back home. She didn't want to go home. She didn't want to go to their house. She wanted to go back to her house. Someone had her stay there overnight. She couldn't be left by herself. She didn't want to come to my house, so I would be there trying to get some sleep. She'd be waking up at night, pacing around, going to the fridge, going to the stove. Mom, get some sleep. I can't go to sleep. So my dad passes away. We tell her, of course. And she goes to the wake, and you have 300, 400 people coming at her like this. And she can't remember that her husband passed away. She can't remember where she puts the money. And we allow my poor mom to face this assault of the information that her brain had to process. And then the next day we take her to the funeral, and the same thing again. Then we had a light tour. Well, the next day after that, after the funeral, my aunts were there at the house, and my uncle, and they're dressed in black. And there's a bottle of Metaxa. It's tradition. You have a little Metaxa to pay your respect and condolences. And this thing's called Paximadia, which I hate all of these things, black and Paximadia. And the only thing I'm going to keep around is the Metaxa, because he has other values besides. But never bring Metaxa to anybody's house when somebody dies. It's just not going to be, it's not going to happen. And she would say over and over, who died, who died, who died. Somebody died. And we would tell her, nobody died. Finally, I had enough, and I said, yeah, he died. And she just beat herself up like the first time. Oh my God, how can I remember? She's sitting in her head, and just like uncontrollable. We calm her down, and from that moment until the day she died, we're telling everybody that we would tell her when she asks, "Where's your father?" He's upstairs sleeping. He's with John planting tomatoes, or with Alex shoveling snow, or whatever, depending on the season. We make an excuse, and she always wanted to go home. She's staying in a beautiful house with my sister and her saint of a husband, Marshall, and the kids. And my brother's family's down the street, and my wife and I would go there a couple days a week and stay overnight, and we'd do whatever we could to keep her in the house. And she always wanted to go home. I would walk in the door, Vasilakum, what she would say, Billy. It's like Billy. Now everybody's gonna be calling Vasilako. I get it. Okay. We gotta go home. We gotta go home. And my response was in a little bit. So that was what we did for 12 years, or for 4 years actually. The last 4 years. Marshall had to put locks on the doors because she would take off. They had a GPS unit on her. The Naperville police knew her. She was she ran away a couple times around the corner to the next neighbor's house. They couldn't find her in the bushes, so the GPS had tracked her down. Uh, I was there. She hid in the closet. I love my mom. She was a character. Uh, and then she died. Alzheimer's is not a disease. It's a disease like anything else. The brain stops making those little connections. You know, like your computer here that you're watching this. If sometimes the screens break up, it's not proper. It doesn't show the way you used to do it. The things pixels go out. Think of it as a pixel. A little dot that doesn't make the connection. Then, and if enough of those break down, then the neurons don't fire. It's too technical for me. I'm not an expert. I just tell you what I know, which is what we've been through. Maybe it can help some people, maybe not. But if it helps one person, say, not put their finger in somebody's head and say, "Is your mom crazy?" Or "Is she losing it?" Or "Tacha," say in Greek, or I don't know, a million other things that insensitive things that people say. They're nicest people in the world, you know. They're all over our family, our friends, and the nicest people. But some of these things come out of their mouths, and I'm sure they came out of me in the past, you know. So there is something you can do about that. Like watch what you say. And when some old guy asks you the same question, he's not nuts. He's just losing his brain. His brain's not functioning right. They don't make fun of people that have heart attacks, right? So that's it. Uh, I'm sure I'm going to get some comments of this. Good, bad, ugly. Bring them on. Uh, I'm just here to help. If somebody gets a little bit of advice out of it, I just hate to see some poor person out there be put in a nursing home because the family thinks it's overwhelming. It's really not. All you need is some basic, coping mechanisms and some lies, some locks on the door, the family to pitch in, because really our family is an amazing family. We have our differences, 15 people, however many we are. Uncle Bill is not the easiest person to live with. He walks around barefoot and, but we love each other. And actually our mom has brought us a lot closer the past 4 years because we spend a lot of time together and really taking care of her. And it's a blessing because, going forward, we're going to be an amazing family. We already are, but we're just going to we're going to leave the past behind, just like her memory. We're going to lose all that BS that goes on from generation to generation about properties and about he said and she said, all the BS that causes so much pain in people's lives. And at least my generation, I can't speak for my brother and sister, but at least I'm going to forget about the past. All the hurt feelings that we torture ourselves with, and I'm going to give my nieces and nephews a life full of joy and possibility, forgiveness, love, ways of dealing with her problems and not turning that one simple word into, 20 years of, not seeing your brother or your sister, and then you go to the funeral, you're crying, it's too late, and we've all done it, I hope there's a lot of you guys out there that don't have their experience, but I have experienced a lot of that. People don't go to their daughter's wedding because something happened. Are you out of your mind? All right, that's a different subject. We'll do this another time. Bye, everyone.